Hey, it's Friday, baby.
TLF
What time it is?
It's TLF.
I cannot hear you.
It's TLF.
Tier List Fridays, and today we're looking at the tanks in Mythic Plus because it's been, I think, 2 months since we did the last.
Beginning of January, was it? It might have been our first tier list in 2021.
Yeah, I think it was the first one, yeah, and it was with tanks in Mythic Plus, so we had to revisit it because things have changed a bit in this department, and we're going to take a look at all these tanks in a bit of a different light with different metrics, so to say, more analytical. I guess you saw the improvements on this. What else?
The thing is, 9.0.5 brought a couple of changes that most people haven't been able to test out properly. So we don't really have all of the logs and all of the proper demonstrations of the spec's power. So what we're going to be looking at today is basically the tanks kit, what their potential is, and how well they can, perform, as opposed to the tier list that we had such a long time ago.
Yeah, and speaking of tier list that we had such a long time ago, you better subscribe and hit that notification bell. It helps us out tremendously. It's free, it doesn't cost you a goddamn thing, and you'll be updated all the time when we upload guides and tier lists and podcasts and whatnot. And with that being said, let's move along to the Blood Death Knight.
Blood DK.
You tank with blood quite a bit.
I have dabbled into Blood DK, and I think last time that we looked at it, was it in C tier? Was
I think it was like with prod, where you're kind of in the last tier, was C tier, still playable, doing everything it should do.
It was just a clear difference, and I think one of the main issues that the C tier tanks last time, Blood in this case as well, had was lower damage, and even still, after all this time, the legendary doesn't really add to tankiness. Legendaries don't add tankiness for all of the tanks. And Blood Decay suffers from its core design of it. You have to be able to survive one global and not die, so you can heal back up. The kiting power is, you've seen Death and Decay, right?
Yeah, it's still, the DK in general has good crowd control for dungeons. That's super cool. I always mention this when talking about Blood Decays. If you don't know, as a healer, if you don't know how Blood Decay works, it can be really tricky to heal him, because you tend to panic a lot when healing a Blood Death Knight, and that is also really important, like as the Blood Decay should know how to communicate and use its abilities when playing it. It's not the easiest combo, I'll be fair, because I didn't know at the beginning what the fuck was happening. I always felt like, oh my god, he's so low all the goddamn time. But
that is normally how we do it, and as a healer, it's something that you might not have to do for all of the tanks, but for Blood Decay, if you really want to, not panic and not overheal and not overuse cooldowns, is to track its runic power. You can obviously do that with the normal UI frames, or you can get some add-on that will probably do that, or weak or anything like that, because if the DK has runic power and obviously knows what he's doing or what she's doing, then they're gonna use that to pretty much heal almost the entire damage that they take. And what's most important though is that, I don't think we've touched this enough last time, there are a lot of magic effects in dungeons nowadays, and you can actually negate debuff applications and stuff like that with AMS, which is a strong thing that not many tanks do, and tanks that can negate certain effects are doing really good in certain dungeons.
And let's not forget about Icebound Fortitude, right? You can immune a lot of mechanics, a lot of stuns, what's the curse on Halls of Attunement,
the second boss.
Yeah.
You won't get stunned.
Yeah, there's a lot of usefulness for the Blood Decays. And speaking about the overall terms of Blood Decay, the biggest key they pushed is a 23, I believe.
At least logged. So we're kind of looking at logs. Logs don't update fairly often. Last time we looked was actually earlier today. So the highest one was a plus 23, which is, it's pretty high up there. I think it's at the most 2 to 3 keys behind the very top #1 Vengeance Demon Hunter.
Yeah, needless to say, all the tanks we're going to talk about here today can easily clear 15s and not even going in blowers. We're showing off the biggest keys they can pull, or they pulled last week, just to show that, hey, if you want to do a 15, 14, 16, whatever, you'll be fine with whatever. Where do you think we should place?
Just before putting Blood Decay in any tier, I do want to mention one last thing about the buffed Legendary 905, which actually might cause some misconceptions. The Crimson Rune Weapon, and I've talked with a couple of DK boys about this, essentially adds more uptime on Dancing Rune Weapon, obviously makes Dancing Rune Weapon a more impactful cooldown, which is something that we kind of wanted as Blood Decays for quite a while.
Sure.
The thing is, it doesn't particularly add more damage. Obviously, you get as much damage as you would by just double spreading your Plague, but the important part is that you have more parry uptime, which like in high octane, a lot of melees coming in, high parry chance is really good, but it doesn't really do as much damage as super strain, and the runic generation is good, but it's not significantly better or worse than super strain. So if you want more damage, super strain is still the way to go. If you want to parry more melee attacks, if melee damage is strong, then I would recommend Crimson Rune Weapon. So with that out of the way, I think it's safe to put Blood Decay a little bit higher than last time. It's not the bottom of the list. We've learned a little couple of new things.
Yeah, it's better definitely since like the last time. And last time there wasn't as much as an analytical approach as this time, but regardless of this, it's looking better than the last time, and I think that's the most important thing. So it's a B tier for Mythic Plus right now. Okay, the next tank on the list is the Brewmaster.
The Monk, the drunk bastard. Monk didn't receive too many changes, with an indirect one actually. The fact that Windwalker was nerfed so much, you might actually see more Brewmasters because Mistweaver who? Mistweaver what? They're not getting any love anytime soon, unfortunately. It's not that they're bad, but you know, I mean...
I know, but that Mystic Touch was obviously always in because you had a lot of Windwalkers in, and now...
They were like kind of like top melee, close to Outlaw, or maybe a little bit below, but now Outlaw's clear.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like, Mystic Touch is one thing, but you have to realize, like, Brewmasters are like one of the most mobile tanks. You know, they can kite really well, and you know, kiting is a big fucking part of Mythic Plus for tanks.
Almost for all of them.
Yeah, almost for all of them. Yes, sure. I mean, and then also like the damage is pretty good. It's decent. I would say it's probably a bit better than Blood Decay.
Oh, I think it's definitely better than Blood Decay. I know that you have a couple of covenants that you can choose from with Brewmaster. Celestial Brew is still a contentious thing for me. I kind of like the concept of it. It's the old guard system. It's really good. It depends on how you mesh it up against the content. And when you get that big fat full HP bar absorb shield, is pretty crazy. And obviously stagger is always a good mitigation to have.
That's the thing. I wanted to say this. So similar to Blood Decay, I'm going to speak a little bit from the perspective of a healer.
Actually about to mention that.
You have to understand as well, because Blood Decay and Brewmaster are different in how they mitigate damage and how do they work as tanks. So again, I sort of had the same problems while healing Brewmaster because I didn't really understand the stagger until Flame explained it to me, and I panicked a lot, right? So that's the thing. If you have a Brewmaster in your comp or in your team or whoever you push keys with, it's better to understand or to have a communication with them to understand when the stagger. Because for example, if I didn't know that if Flame wouldn't tell me or any other Brewmaster wouldn't tell me, hey man, don't spam heals, I'm okay, right? I would just pump all my mana into like the staggers, right?
Yeah.
And that's inefficient because at some point you will need to pump heals, right? There's moments and moments. So this is really important for Brewmasters.
Yeah, it's something that you need to understand because as opposed to Blood Decay, Brewmasters take, because of stagger, they constantly take damage. Yeah. And it depends on what kind of healer you're playing. For instance, if you're playing Arista Druid, you kind of always want to have hots on him. Because
well, that's the thing. I'm playing Arista with this. So it's like, shit.
The Brewmaster is not going to stop taking damage. But if you're playing like a setup type healer and you realize that you haven't been healing your Brewmaster for quite a while and now you just instantly have to start your setup, it's gonna be very hard to get back. So you just keep in mind, like as opposed to like Warriors and Blood Decays, although that only require healing in specific times, Brewmaster requires healing all the time. Not a lot, but like constant be aware is like, okay, he's running out of purifying brews. Okay, I might have to like spam him a little bit.
That's the thing. So Aristo Druid is probably the best match for a Brewmaster for sure. Just don't panic, okay? Don't do like me and just waste out all your mana. It's fine. Okay, and also right, we can touch upon the utility of the monk. We touched upon Mystic Touch.
It's probably the only monk utility you might have realistically if you really want to be competitive. And obviously this is for competitive side. You can play any monk spec at any point. You can have 3 monks in your
and do fine, do absolutely
if you want to. But yeah, like Ring of Pieces, I mean,
the best thing ever.
It helps you with so many affixes. The amount of time that you can kite is really good if you can do like a lot of snap threats. Although I don't know if Brewmasters are particularly great at this, but they can do a lot of damage, then just get the fuck out and not have to worry about tanking. Obviously, then your healer can do damage because he doesn't have to heal you. So that's also really good. Not a lot of tanks can do this. And although Brewmaster hasn't received specific buffs, and I mean the scaling that it has with gear is it's okay.
Yeah.
It might have normally it would have probably dropped the tier for us, but seeing as how Windwalkers were also kind of nerfed and you kind of really want a monk every now and again,
you probably
I think
retain
it's
its
still
position, right?
an
Still-
A tier because last
still
time
an A
I
tier.
think it was still A tier.
It was A tier, yeah, it was A tier for sure, and it retains its position at least just because of the Windwalker nerfs.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to my favorite tank of the bunch, the Yogi Bear of World of Warcraft, Guardian Druid, and I will retain my position here. I still believe Bear is like the tankiest tank out of them all.
I think it has the most potential when it comes to becoming really tanky.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You mentioned at the beginning that, I think when talking about Blood Decay, that most of the tank legendaries don't necessarily make the tanks more tanky.
Yeah.
Here's a tank that has a legendary that can make him like super tanky, right? I mean, at this point, I haven't touched my bear in quite a while, but I remember like whenever I had the Ursak legendary on, and I spammed the thrashes and got the absorbs like when there was big mobs and got all of the ticks and stuff. Huge absorbs, huge healing. Plus that, you know, because it's so. People are gonna burn me for this, but you know, it's not complicated to play. All right, it's no secret.
No.
It's not complicated to play. Probably this is one of the downsides of it because it tends to get boring, but because it's so simple and it has so much self-sustain, it rarely needs to kite anything. You can survive like big chunks of things.
And the one thing that to note that which is actually very important, the Ursak, as you touched about, the Ursak legendary, the absorb shields are not affected by healing reduction effect.
Yeah.
They're not affected by necrotic, most likely the necrotic bolts and necrotic wake as well. So you can do things that other tanks cannot. If you run Incarn and you pop Ursak and you just like spam thrashes and necrotic, you will likely not lose much HP.
Also, there's the Ursak legendary, but you know I also rock the Barkskin one, and the Barkskin one really you are basically unkillable with that shit. I mean you have access to your Barkskin so often, plus it grants you all the stacks of Iron Furs, you know, the frenzy regen when you pop Barkskin, and it's basically on a 30-second cooldown. You're basically unkillable, and it's really easy for your healers too. So I think this is one cool thing about Guardians. Both of the legendaries do well depending on what you want. You want to do more damage? Sure, go for the Ursak, it's fine. And you have to remember, it's a Druid. You will convoke the shit out of something if you know how to master it a little bit. Because if you go out of form, you can go with Munkin form, Heart of the Wild, and
that's
convoke.
The cool part.
Yeah, you can do it.
You said it's simple, but there are ways you can make it a lot more entertaining
and versatility.
I think if I still retain my opinions that if Vengeance Demon Hunter receives like a nerf in its tankiness in some way, it's highly likely
Bear will
Bear's
take its
gonna
place.
be number one. And just probably because outside of the Ursak legendary, and even with that, Bear doesn't really have amazing damage unless you somehow manage to Owl Weave or Cat Weave.
That is true.
It's not going to be S tier, but it's very strong. I personally think Bear is better than Brewmaster, and I think if I've looked at the top 20 to 50, I think top 50 tanks in the world.
Let me help you with that.
There,
Move it.
There you go. In at least logged rankings, in the top 50 tanks in the world, there are like 3 bears and only 1 Brewmaster. So.
Oh, there you go. And plus, the biggest key on a bear was 25, so that's a from the logs at least.
At least logged, it's higher, one key higher than Brewmaster.
Yeah. So. It's pretty good. I still love my bear. Cannot wait to tank on it again. But it's time to go to Flame's favorite shiny boy.
My favorite tank right now, which is taking a dip. So last time, Paladin was around the B tier because its kit was a little bit and its kit is still a little bit And so what Prot does is a little bit different than every other tank. So first of all, off the bat, Shield the Righteous is dog shit in very high keys because it gives you a very mediocre amount of armor.
It's a poor man's Iron Fur?
It's a very poor man's Iron Fur. So not only is it a poor man's Iron Fur, it cannot stack the way Iron Fur does. And it costs a lot to get one Shield the Righteous up as opposed to what it would cost to get.
Why did they? Because it was so good in BFA. Like if you had that, it was so good, so tanky. What happened?
It wasn't that. No, see, the thing is, Shield the Righteous was the same in BFA as well. Actually, you have more uptime on Shield of the Righteous now than you had in BFA. The
But
BFA was
I'm talking about numbers. Is
yeah,
it, did
BFA
they
was
drop it?
Azurite because you had a lot of stats from Azurite, and
Right.
Paladin never really became amazing until you had versatility, and it wasn't even as amazing as any other tanks like Warrior and I think what was it, Brewmaster's thing, all classed the Paladin as well. The one really upside of Paladin is it does amazing damage. All of the tanky legendaries are dog shit. So right now in Mythic Plus you run 2 legendaries. It's the shield one, the reset shield one that everybody knows, which you would think with the first Avenger shield will give you absorb similar to what bears would get with the Ursak legendary, but it's not even close. Dog shit.
Right.
But the more probably impactful one is the Shield of the Righteous one, which makes Shield of the Righteous deal cranky damage.
I've seen the damage on Prot Paladins. Oh my god, I think it has the highest burst damage out of all.
It's definitely the highest damage of all the tanks. I don't think any other tank might, although Warrior, but we'll get to Warrior in a second.
We'll get it.
And that's the thing, because you can do so much damage. You can start a pool, do like a crazy amount of damage, and you just kite and not have to tank the rest of the pool. And you will have to kite. That's the problem. But you won't lose aggro as much as other tanks would. That's something that not all tanks can do. And obviously you have all the utility that we already know.
The Paladin utility is there,
yeah.
and the off heals, the sacrifices.
Off heals are crazy, and interesting that you mentioned, because I did talk with the prop Paladin boys, and apparently at hierarchies, because I haven't reached there yet, I will eventually. Word of Glory is better than Shield of the Righteous.
Well, I would expect that, because like
I started to feel that this was interesting. I started to feel this way in certain dungeons that I would press Word of Glory because it felt like I was safer than.
Yeah, it makes you feel so. Yeah, because that's basically a direct heal, which is weird for a tank, but you would say
it feels like bloody came.
Yeah, you would say that for a Paladin, like the main mitigation would be the Shield of the Righteousness, but it's weird that right now you feel safer just pumping out World of Glories rather than doing your basic mitigation mechanic. If that's the way to go, then
see what I think is Prop Paladin needs a different look at Shield of the Righteous, because it's obviously trying to kind of mimic Bear, but it's way shittier than Bear, and it doesn't want to mimic Warrior, which is like the most amazing one.
Has more buns than Bear.
Yeah, no, I meant to Shield of the Righteous. If they can give it like, I don't know, a 20 to 50% block chance, that would make a huge difference in the overall tankiness of Prop Paladin. But because of that, and because it's not scaling the best, it's right now ranked.
Into the C tier. Oh my god, things have changed a bit.
It dropped the tier. It's still my favorite tank to play as of this moment, and it's still the tank that I will still be playing, but it's a clear difference between.
I mean, C tier, guys, remember, in terms of 20 plus keys, okay? Once again, if you want to play 15, 16, 17, 10s, don't even get me started. It's the best, okay? All right, let's go to the other Prot brother, but this time Warrior, Protection Warrior, which is another favorite of yours for sure.
Yeah, it's
oh baby.
All right. Listen, you might have seen the patch notes, and if you haven't seen the patch notes, then let me fill you in.
What?
Okay. Pro Warrior is probably one of the highest DPS tanks right now. Oh, but why is that, I wonder? Well,
Why is that, Flame?
they have been buffing an interesting legendary that's actually pretty stupid in dungeons. The Reprisal legendary has been buffed, where now Charge and Intervene gives you shield block, a shield block charge on you automatically, and it activates your Revenge proc to deal more damage. Because of that, your talent build will change, and we will update our Pro Warrior soon as we have more logs to work with. And you will be using Best Serve Cold as the talent and anger management, because you won't need Bolster anymore, because you'll have a lot of shield block uptime, and that will give you a lot more resets on the Revenge skill, which does a lot of damage. A lot of damage. So a Pro Warrior is actually way better now, because one of its issues previously in our tier, if you looked at it, I think it was in C tier with Bloody Kid down there.
It was pretty low at that point.
Yeah,
but I'll just say, as a healer, I don't know, I just feel super confident healing Prot Warriors for some reason. Maybe it's the mobility, maybe it's the intervenes, maybe it's the spell reflex, I don't know. It just feels like on oh shit moments, I felt like all the time when I was healing a Prot Warrior, I didn't have to like panic on oh shit moments.
It's really good. The cooldowns are really good, and that was with the shield wall. Now you have Reprisal, which actually in dungeons it gives you more tankiness. It's not as good in raids, but this is where the dungeons video. And speaking of spell reflect, tank warriors can do
tank warriors?
Tanks, man. That's the pro warrior. Are the only tank that can mitigate Soul Crusher, which is it's interesting because obviously Power Flag works.
Soul Crusher from the other side, right?
So Soul Crusher is the mechanic. If you tank Mozilla, you know he does the left arm, right arm, and the smash the whole melee area bit. Now, every now and again in between those attacks, I don't know if it's scripted or not, or if it's random, he does a Soul Crusher, really quick attack that does more damage than any of the previous ones. And you can actually 100% immune the Spell Crusher with Spell Reflect. It's something, and it's that's weird because it's physical damage. It's obviously mitigated by armor if you're popping Iron Furs or Shield of the Righteous or stuff like that. But it also is spell reflectable, which is freaking crazy. And that's so good. Like I've tanked it on Warrior and I've tanked it on Paladin, and I wish I tanked it on Warrior every other time.
It's really good, and I think now if we look at the grand scheme of things, like Pro Warrior last time used to be like at the like really bottom of the bottom. Right here. Yeah. How is it looking now?
Well, do you think it's here?
It's 8 tier.
I personally like to think that it's a little bit better than Brewmaster, but we don't have the numbers yet, and the logs are now really indicative of this because the highest key that Pro Warrior has done is a 22, while the highest key that a Pro Paladin has done is a 24. Yeah. But this has been all with logs because Pro Warrior has been seen like one of the worst tanks up until 905, and I don't think a lot of people have taken up the Reprisal Legendary and try to see exactly what they can do. But I have a feeling that by the time we go to the next M+ tank tier list, things are gonna change a little bit.
We'll see in a month from now, or in a month and a half from now, like how things are looking, because I'm still waiting on Brewmasters to get this not as much as participation from Windwalkers, and let's see how that scales up with the Brewmasters too. That being said, pretty effing good. And now let's move along to
the Vengeance Demon
Hunter. I mean, wasn't it nerfed? Wasn't its damage nerfed a bit?
Yeah, so I think they took some damage off of Elysian Decree and they nerfed a couple of conduits. I know there was one of the best defensive conduits that was nerfed a little bit. The nerfs of Vengeance are not crucial. They're not meta changing. I think Vengeance is still a notch above everybody else. It obviously has answers to like pretty much every type of mechanic that you can think of, which keeps it above everybody else. You can, with Elysian Decree, you can snap through, which I mentioned before, but I didn't actually explain what it is for anybody who doesn't know. Snap threat essentially means doing a lot of burst damage at once at the beginning, so you have threat on everything, so you can just go in, flip a couple of abilities, jump out, and still have threat for a very long time. That is essentially snap aggro, because if you know, you've tanked, you've played with me on, might have been Pro Warrior, where you just took aggro a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the start of the pack, which...
it happened.
happens with Blood Decay, happens with Pro Warrior. Doesn't happen with Vengeance Demon Hunter, and it might not happen with Pro Warrior now. But with that being said, Demon Hunters unfortunately still have the bug though.
Oh yeah, the magic DR that is double from the normal amount.
The magic damage reduction seems to be bugged, and it's currently double. And even if that's taken down, it's still likely that Vengeance is gonna be at top, and because of all of that,
it's also like as Brewmaster is super mobile. I think it's like we can safely say the most mobile tank, and that's really important. One thing, and second, it's still the tank with an answer to any type of incoming damage out of all of them. So basically a Swiss knife of a tank. I think only these two alone can like put him up. Obviously the damage reduction bug is annoying, and that shouldn't be part of the value of Vengeance Demon Hunter. But it's still there. It's still pretty helpful, I guess. So like overall, I mean, think about it like this: when we played with Cabal, right? Like, because he's tanking on Vengeance a lot. Damage nerfs or not, man, I've seen some ridiculous damage when it comes to like big packs. I mean, it's still good.
Was a big nerfs.
Yeah. There's also like, you know, the utility of the Vengeance as well. You know, you can use your ink caps. No, it's not the Pterodome. It's not. I'm thinking it's still an S tier.
It's definitely still S tier. It's clearly above everybody else, and I mean, they kind of deserve it. They've been at the bottom of the barrel for a while now for a BFA, and I don't remember them being exceptionally exciting in Legion either. So it's fine. I don't know how long that will last, because I think Burr is kind of like sniffing its butt. It's coming from behind. And Vengeance still has Incap, which is obviously a really good
It's very
skip
good
mechanic.
in Mist of Tempest. I
Yeah.
know that one pack you want to avoid, which only like if you poly
it's
that
a
mob,
shit
it
pack.
doesn't
It's
work.
a fucking
Only
shit
sap
pack.
and incap from Demon Hunter. So
Yeah. Well,
what do you go?
that's really good. Obviously, the magic debuff is really good because Vengeance is still outperforming Havoc in the grand scheme of things, in the meta scheme of things.
Well, yeah, of course, man, and also like the silence bob, gathering everybody up and all of that. It's really good, especially like when I played as a fire mage and Cabal was tanking on his vengeance. Oh my god, I love the fact that just group everybody up so my flame strikes can do the work.
That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice.
Pretty good, but this is it, guys.
Yeah,
this is looking at it so far. Again, the rankings are made based on 20 plus performances and based more or less on the logs, which not everybody logs their keys. You have to be aware of that. And taken out of this, you can realize that all of these specs that you can see here can tank 10s, 11s, 15s, 16s, 17s, no problem at all, right?
Yeah.
But as far as the creme de la creme, this is how it's looking so far.
Yeah, this is in terms of how each class and each spec is designed. Obviously, we've seen some buffs and nerfs in 905, not major changes, and I don't think Blizzard wants to do any major change in the middle of the season, because I mean, well, maybe we're past the middle, but we're definitely not over yet. There's gonna be a couple of months left of 905.
Yeah, we're gonna have some time on our hands too.
So
to
the
look at
differences
everything.
might not be too big,
We'll
but
see. I think the biggest changes will be between the Brewmasters and Prot Warriors. Because this is what I was saying earlier. I'm waiting to see how the meta shifts in terms of melee DPS. If Windwalker will still be like in the top keys will still be there, or we'll just see Outlaw Rogue dominance, and then maybe we'll see the Brewmasters, and also people start realizing that Prot Warrior with the new legendary is kicking some ass and start being played more, right? Yeah. So we'll definitely see some changes and see some evolutions. But that being said, play whatever you want. It's fun.
You're good.
This analysis is based on like the top of the top of the top. Everything below that is viable and perfectly fine for you. That being said, you know what's perfectly fine for us? Our Patreons, baby!
Yeah. Hello, Patreons. Thank you very much for supporting our channel, our content, and everything that we do. All of the guides and the tier lists that we do in the MoCast. And the streams, of course.
And the streams, all the content is being supported by our Patreons, and thank you so much for that. Hey, if you ever want to join the team that way, you can check the link in the description. There's also, twitch.tv/MarcelianOnline, all over there, all the viewers, the followers, the subs, playing Mythic Plus and raids and all that. Yesterday we played some arenas, so there's a bunch of stuff over there as well. Plus some new things that are coming along, which we cannot really say just yet.
It's gonna be a surprise.
Planning shit, we're not staying on our ass,
No. It's all about progress, and all of that is made in no small part thanks to you.
Thank you. And with that being said, you guys have a great weekend ahead. See y'all very soon. This Sunday, new guide. Tomorrow, big stream. See ya. Love you.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.